It's Mike's from livemyassoff.com. And I wanted to do a live one here. Let's get rid of that for now. And with any luck, this is going to a whole bunch of platforms, not the least of which is hopefully Facebook, Instagram. What else? YouTube. And a whole bunch of others. So anyway, I'm stoked to be trying out. I'm actually now a beta tester for Restream. And what I want to do with these guys is, with any luck, see if I can basically do the entire thing from my Chromebook. And so that's the goal here. It didn't connect me to Twitch. I'm not quite worried about that, but that was actually also sort of a good test. But it looks like I'm connected to everything else, including Instagram. So I'm not sure if you follow me on Instagram, but if you do, with any luck, you can see me there. And with any luck, the audio is decent. So anyway, I got the chat window open, and I have the chat window open in Restream. I will open up the chat window in YouTube here simply to make sure that it's working. But why am I here? The main reason I'm here is because I wanted to. All right, good. Is because I wanted to talk about an email that I got from my State Department, which is not uncommon. When I'm traveling, they send us, all of us who basically signed up for the STEP program, which basically is simply when you let them know where you're traveling, and it's step.state.gov, and STEP just simply stands for Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. So STEP. And so basically you're just like, look, here's where I'm traveling. And if you would, please let me know if anything is odd where I'm going. So anyway, because of that, I got an email, and I'll read you exactly what it said, because that's sort of the main reason I'm here. And as you might guess, we've been getting these regularly, meaning people who sign up for the STEP program. And, there's an ongoing coronavirus, right, is obviously what it talks about. Shocker. And then the other thing that it sort of talks about, or it doesn't sort of talk about, but the other thing that it does talk about is specifically Thailand. And so I'm in Thailand, as you probably know. But in bold, it says, travelers entering the Kingdom of Thailand who have been in the United States within the prior 14 days are subject to self-monitoring and reporting requirements. There are no mandatory quarantine requirements in effect at this time for travelers arriving from the United States who do not display signs of infection. So I'll throw that up in the chat, and just basically so you guys have record of it. And again, I got this from step.state.gov. Now, I'm doing this not to invoke fear or any thing like that. I'm not trying to sell newspapers. But it was just sort of interesting to me that it was it was something that they thought, okay, well, we should let people know about this. It's valid, right? And let me actually get to a new Restream tab, because I want to make sure that if I can see the chat here. There we go. There we go. And so anyway, it's just sort of a data point that I wanted to let you know about. And with any luck, that basically went to everybody. It looks like it went to doesn't look like it went to Facebook, so whatever. But regardless, it's it's something that everyone is dealing with, right? And with any luck, you're not having to deal with it a whole lot. I have a guy that I sort of follow here in Thailand. He's one of the YouTube bloggers. His handle is Foreigner Joe. And Foreigner Joe did a video that was, the title of which was like totally appropriate, and it's My 2 Cents, right? About the COVID-19. Let me just get a little bit more on my face here. Hold on. That's not real great, but better. How's that? There we go. And so anyway, so I just wanted to talk about that. And the reason that I titled this stream, like, what's it like being an expat over here? Because if of all the questions that I get now and have gotten in forever, since this began, like January-ish, is what's it like being an expat over here? And I'll do that. What's it like being an expat over here? Are you treated differently, that sort of thing? And a lot of people will sort of argue that, oh yeah, the Thais don't want you here or whatever. There's that sort of chatter. And that has not been my experience. You could say that I've got these rose-colored glasses, and maybe. But the point is that I like it here, and a lot of times I have rose-colored glasses on anyway. But what has sort of been happening over here is a pretty valid response, and I don't believe that we're overreacting. I'm not saying that other countries are overreacting. However, the data that I get about what's happening, some of the behavior that's occurring in the United States, it seems a little overreacting. Now, I don't want to make light of this. I'm not going to make jokes about this and say, oh, you shouldn't worry. Don't worry. It'll blow over in 15 minutes. No, it's probably going to keep going for a little while. And one could argue that it's going to get worse before it gets better. So I just want to make sure the audio is decent there. And with any luck, I will see all of your chats in my chat window here if you want to ask me anything. How's that? And so I figured, okay, well, let's do a video and let's just talk about it with some folks if they want to. The way that it's been sort of unfolding over here is. Let me just say this. If you are in Southeast Asia and you are in a public area and you find yourself seeing people with masks on, let's say 30 to 50% of the people around you are wearing these surgical masks. That is not uncommon. That occurs on a Wednesday in the middle of last November. That's just a very common thing. Now, I don't know whether it has its origins, from when SARS was around and that sort of thing. But I can tell you that, seeing people with masks on, people wearing masks, that's not weird. So what is it like now? Well, now there is probably about 90% of the people that you see wearing masks on, and almost close to 100% of the people wear masks on public transit. So how's that? So that's not, it's not crazy. It's not weird. And there also is plenty of stock on the shelves. I have not experienced any sort of lack in the grocery stores. In fact, one of the bigger grocery stores over here is called Big C. And I know that may sound odd, and I thought it really did when I first heard about it. But then back home where I'm from, there's Big Y. So anyway, but here there's Big C. And in Big C, as well as Tesco Lotus, there has been plenty of stock. I haven't been out yet this morning. How's that? So, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's an overreaction. Now, additionally, I've seen news reports I saw something in the Bangkok Post, actually, And the Bangkok Post, Rike, what's going on, buddy? He says, true, way before all this happened, very common for Asian to wear face masks. Filipinos have been doing this even back in 2012 due to the air pollution in downtown areas. Absolutely. Not to one-up you, brother, but I can tell you that the air pollution in Bangkok is... it's effective in darkening your lungs. If you guys don't know Rike, who just posted something, let me tell you a couple things about Rike. The first is that I am honored to call him friend. The second is he is arguably one of the top, most visible, most relevant people that vlogs about the Philippines. Here's why I say that. He's got 50,000 subscribers, okay? And he can comment on this if he wants, but my experience with YouTube and the trolls is that the trolls have now sort of diminished. So what does that mean? I believe it allows content creators to get a lot more focused and not be so distracted. Now, again, that's just my opinion. I got less than 1,000 subscribers. And he and I have talked about this before, but I really like having like 715 or whatever it is, because I feel like I almost all know all you folks. And every time that you comment, it's favorable, which I like. But it's also, we're having like a dialogue, which is pretty cool. So anyway, but yeah, so to his point, so if you go like here in, I'll just speak for where I'm living. So in Bangkok, there is the BTS, which is, if you're from where I'm from, then that's the equivalent of basically saying it's the T, the MBTA in Boston. And most people are wearing masks. And, look, there's debate about whether it's effective or how effective it is. I can tell you that from a social norm perspective, I think it's just appropriate. It's not super comfortable, and there's a lot of times where Gracie and I would be on the BTS, and we would get off, and we would be like, we take it off, because you're inhaling this moist air. But I will tell you, one of the pieces of good news is that whenever I am acutely aware of how bad my breath could be. So I always have mints available, because quite frankly, I don't want to smell my own breath, right? But so anyway, and we've been wearing that, and I was down south in Bang Sien, and I was also over at a little island called Koh Si Chang. And it's funny how people will say Koh Si Chang Island, right? Because Koh is the Thai word for Koh is the Thai word for island. So that's like kind of saying the ATM machine. But we do that too, right? So anyway, social norms. The norm around here is if you are on public transit, if you're on a bus, wear one. If you're walking through an airport, wear one. If you're walking down the sidewalk, then it's kind of up in the air. There have been 2 times where I believe his title is Minister of Public Health, where he has been quoted as saying something derogatory or negative about Farang, which is foreigners, Kano, if you're from the Philippines, about how we're not wearing masks and the Thais are, and the Thais should be more concerned about the personal hygiene of the Farang, and that the Farang are fleeing their countries, specifically like the UK and Europe and those places, and they're coming here to save Thailand. And so he's making a statement to his fellow Thai citizens in the kingdom that they need to be more worried about the Farang than they need to be worried about the Asians. So, whatever, fine. And so because of that, to the social norms discussion, I have decided to basically wear masks when I go outside. Much like when I go to the beach in Thailand, I always keep my clothes on. And I know that sounds odd, but there are absolutely people that believe that, a beach should be free and open. And so there's nudist beaches, right? And so there's kind of one in San Diego. And if you go down to Jamaica, then you can go to those places. And so that's a social norm for down there. You see some guy like walking around naked on the beach, and it's like, okay, whatever. It's some guy naked on the beach. You don't do that in Thailand. You also, when you leave the beach, you don't walk around without a shirt on and just your bathing suit, right? And so, and that's pretty common in New England, for example. You walk around, it's the summertime, and you're a guy, and it's hot, and so you're just wearing basically your board shorts, and you're cruising around the beach, and you leave the beach, and you like go get a soda, or you go get, some lunch or something, and you stand in line with potentially a whole bunch of other people, some of which are guys, and they're not wearing their top, right? But here you do that. So as part of the community, and the statement of, oh, I'm a guest in their country, I mean, I think that's pretty accurate. And so therefore, when I'm in public areas, I've come to just sort of accept, hey, I'm going to wear a face mask. Now, we could debate the medical benefit of it. I can tell you that from a vlogging perspective, they're acoustically transparent for the most part, as is this windscreen, right? Pop my peas. So I don't get a whole lot of that noise. So, but the, I just kind of wear it because it just is easier to do. What I did do the other day when I was actually on the train on an app on my phone from Lazada, which if you don't know, that's sort of the Amazon of over here, in the sense that it is a website where you can order items. There's no Lazada Prime. So it's not like, oh, cool, I can have the same amazing Amazon experience that I get from Kansas City, San Diego, Los Angeles, Orange County, that I get over here in Bangkok. Absolutely not. There is a possibility that there are items that you can order on Lazada that you will get within several hours or a day. It's a possibility. It's just not a probability. But nonetheless, it's a place to order stuff online, and they actually have come reliably, like this microphone, this mic boom, this sort of thing. I ordered that. It was like, I don't even know how much it was. But the point is that it got here in a reasonable amount of time where I wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I'm losing interest. I need instant gratification. I'm going to go down the street and I'm going to pay, 2 to 3 times the cost because I'm unwilling to wait. So I ordered N95 masks on Lazada. I ordered 6 of them, and I just, put them in the cart, right, and did 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think that cost like 1,000. Maybe they were, I don't know how much it cost. It cost over 1,000 baht, right? So it was like $30, and it included shipping, and so maybe they were $5 each. I'm not sure. Now, the nice thing about these N95s is I'm told they're washable, the ones that I ordered. I'll let you know when they show up. I'm also told that you can get replacement filters for them. And I think that's sort of the big debate about the surgical masks, or the ones that like your doctor or dentist wears that are basically one-wear masks. There's the debate about those, about whether, they do any good after wearing them for more than 30 minutes. Or whether you should just, not wear it at all, potentially. But anyway, so I got the N95s coming, and I'm going to wear those. The other thing, actually, Rike, if you're still there, one of the things that I have experienced and found to be pretty cool are a couple of 2, actually, I'll mention, streaming apps that, because I'm a cloud guy, so I do as much in the cloud as I absolutely can. So right now I'm on my Chromebook, and I'm doing this in the browser with Restream. But one of the solutions was StreamYard, and then the other one was Lightstream, and both of those allow you to invite people. And so if you're still there and you're considering doing that, and you want to, let me know, because I really appreciated your more recent post about, and I'm actually going to search for it, and I'm going to put a link to it here in the chat. The recent update from the Philippines. So while I basically talk about Thailand for the most part, because that's sort of where my skill set lies, let me do this, but also at the same time, I post Rike's update for what's going on in the Philippines. I will also give you my experience with the Philippines lately. So last week, meaning like a couple days ago, during the weekdays, Gracie and I went down to Kosichang, and then we also went down to Bangsian. Bangsian is just a beach about 2.5 hours on a bus south of here. Ko Chang is basically an island, about 45-minute ferry ride off the coast of near there, off of Sriracha. If you're familiar with the cities and how to get places around here. Life Beyond the Sea. Rike's channel is Life Beyond the Sea. If you don't know, if you're watching me for anything related to Asia, then there's a very good chance you already know about Rike's Life Beyond the Sea. So I tell you what, I'll do this. First thing I will do is I will put a link to his channel here in the which I believe it goes to everywhere but Facebook. So let me open up Facebook and give you guys a link to that. But I also want to provide a link to the recent video he did with an update on what the hell is going on in the Philippines. Because everything changes daily, right? And so to that point, so last week, Gracie and I were sitting there down in Bangsian, and we're getting ready to come back up here to Bangkok. And we are planning. Oh, thanks, buddy. Yeah, I threw it up there too. Or sorry, I threw it up on Facebook rather. So I will put a link to his video, which is the title of which being New Travel Restrictions for Manila, Bohol, and Davao. The big one that I wanted to basically touch on was the one about Manila. Because in Manila, the limitation for Gracie and I and for our sort of travel was the fact that as of midnight last night, our time, so as of approximately 10.5 hours ago, the ability to have a domestic flight from Manila to other cities was banned. At least that was the data that I received. And again, if you go to Rike's channel in this specific video, I also put it up in the chat in Facebook. Is you're limited to where you can go in the Philippines, meaning that Gracie could fly home very easily all day long, and then she would be stuck in Manila. And nothing against Manila, but my experience with Manila is being stuck in Manila is not. It's not a goal of mine as far as global travel goes. Let's just say that. I'm trying to not get some massive shadow of my what is it right there? My giant head. This is my co-host, by the way. So anyway, so what does all of this have to do with me over to Bangkok, to Thailand? So I have a 1-year lease on a place here in Bangkok, and then I travel around from there. And the good news is, and I'm going to actually need to pull my camera in off of the, I'm trying to get some sort of B-roll from outside. So let me pull my camera off of there, off of right there, for now, so that it doesn't get damaged by the rain. All right, sorry about that. But welcome to life in Southeast Asia. When it rains, you don't respond, actually, you react. So Gracie and I, our goal is to travel around, basically Southeast Asia. She also has a U.S. visa. If you have any questions about how to get one of those for your Filipina, just let me know. I'll let you know my experience. But the reasoning behind us being here in Bangkok is it's a pretty good hub. From the Bangkok airport, specifically Suvarnabhumi, but also from the older one, Don Muang, where AirAsia goes in and out of, you can get to. I love the statement that I heard a while ago from some guy who was basing his sort of business in Singapore, and it pretty much holds true for Bangkok. And the statement is, you're about 4 hours away from 4 billion people, and so you're easily like 3 hours away from 3 billion people. So that allows Gracie and I to be pretty flexible and to be able to go to places at the drop of a hat, which, as you know, can be kind of expensive, getting plane tickets at the last minute. But it's not over here. So anyway, so we're here and we say, okay, well, on March 25th, we'll cruise back to the Philippines. And I got an Airbnb over in Camotes Islands, which is just a pretty simple ferry ride from Cebu. And we'll stay there for like a week and a half, and her daughter will come down because she's on summer break, right? And that'll be great. So that was March 25th. So we get back to Bangkok here, and then this announcement comes out, and it's basically saying, hey, look, here's the deal. You can fly into Manila, but once you get to Manila after Saturday night, after 10 hours ago, as of this live video, then you can't go anywhere locally. Or if you want to, then you need to go to Clark. And getting to Clark is possible. It's just a little bit of a pain in the neck. I've done it before several ways. I've flown into Manila and then taken a cab to Clark, meaning Angeles City, if you don't know where Clark is. And I've also gone in and out of Clark. I went from Clark down to Caticlan, MPH, which is basically the closest airport to Boracay. Whereas many people used to fly in and out of Kalibo, KLO, it's a lot easier to fly into Caticlan, and you can almost literally walk to the airport, walk to the Caticlan airport. I mean, you can actually. It's not that hard. But people that are ignorant, meaning me, my first time, thought, oh yeah, I got to take a trike, I got to take a taxi, I got to take an air-conditioned van from the Caticlan port over to the airport, which after you take it, it's like, oh my God, I just wasted however many pesos, right? But so in and out of Clark, from Clark, you can get to a lot of places locally in the Philippines. And so that's what, would have been the option if we were stranded in Manila. But knowing that we don't know what's happening in the future, and there's a lot of sort of stuff that's up in the air, we made the decision for Gracie to fly home Friday night, which got her into Manila at about 1:30 in the morning on Saturday morning, and then her flight left at 4:30 that morning to take her down south of the Visayas, where we have a house, where she has a house, where her parents have a farm, where her family is. In doing so, she relayed to me that when she was home on Saturday or yesterday, one of the things that occurred was when she was at her business, basically her shop, her retail business, the health department came over to her house and they wanted to get her contact info. They recommended that she self-quarantine and that she stay in the house for 14 days because she, is new to the country, right? And she has been in Thailand. She was there as of when she left. She'd been here just under 3 weeks. And so there is no ban specifically for Thailand flying into the Philippines. But they seemed like they wanted to basically keep track of her, which is good. And so Gracie's back in the Philippines now. I'm here in Bangkok. And as an expat, again, as I said at the beginning, one of the common questions is, Mike, what's it like over there? Is everyone going crazy? Direction Bangkok, ladies and gentlemen. Yo to you, Andrew. Good to hear from you, buddy. Are you down the street? Direction Bangkok is a killer channel. If you guys are watching on YouTube and you see the chat there, I believe if to the right of the post you just click on the 3 dots, and then you can go to that person's channel. And so Direction Bangkok is really cool. and he literally lives like basically in the same neighborhood I do here in Bangkok, which is Bang Na or Lower Sukhumvit or whatever. He's got a lot of great experiences, and his video production quality, it is so much better than mine. It is not even funny. He has more money invested in his one camera than I have invested in all of this stuff, because I got the laptop for free. All the software I use is free, including the editing software. I had a Dropbox account anyway, so I have that whether I'm YouTubing, vlogging or not. The laptop that I bought, the Windows 10 laptop that I bought for Gracie, for her to just use basically as a oh, stop. No, I mean, dude, if you've seen any of my videos, you can agree with me, right? Mine are similar like this. They're Talking Head videos, and thank God I actually spent another $100 or so on a mixer and a decent microphone and some compression sound, because the audio was so bad when I first started doing this. I understand that there's still an echo in here now, and I actually should have put some dampening on that back wall over there, but at least the audio is a little better. And if I get like really close, then I think it actually sounds pretty decent. But that's creepy, so I won't. But anyway, so here's the cool thing about Direction Bangkok is he, like me, is a fairly new vlogger. He has twice the subs that I do. And he gets a lot of interaction on his channel. So if you want to follow someone who makes really good videos, additionally, he just has new T-shirts, which is pretty cool, and his T-shirts are good. And actually, the video he has on how the T-shirts are made is very interesting. So if you have for me, it was very interesting because I don't know about you guys that travel elsewhere that are from the U.S., but it seems like whether I want to or not, my default setting is okay, I just had an experience. My brain wants to compare that experience to what I think it would be in the U.S., right? So if I wanted to like go buy T-shirts and have them custom made in 30 minutes, where would I do that in the U.S.? And for me, in San Diego, I would go over to the T-shirt place on Sports Arena Boulevard, right across from the In-N-Out Burger, because I've had like 25 T-shirts made there in an afternoon on my way to an event that I was doing when I had a coaching company, and so we had a whole bunch of people that were out on my buddy's boat in the San Diego Yacht Club, and on the way there, I made ones with my company logo on it, which was amazing. Direction Bangkok says, I do think audio is a big deal, but generally think video quality isn't much to worry about. Anyway, thanks for the shout out. Absolutely, buddy. Totally appreciate it. You totally appreciate you watching me right now. Man, the sky outside looks so awesome and ominous, but I'm on my laptop camera. So yeah, it's pretty rad. It's interesting because like 4 or 5 days ago, the forecast for today was thunder showers. I think it was like a 60% chance. And I would submit that there's a 105% chance that it's gonna pour here pretty soon, which is good, man. I mean, we haven't had rain in forever. Direction Bangkok says phones are fine. For example, I know it is dark gray. Yeah, he's obviously looking outside too. So here's one for you, Andrew. I don't know if you do live chats. I, like you, probably, don't spend as much time watching other vloggers as A, I should, or B, I can, because of the attention units that's necessary to spend on your own channel, right? And so to that point, I sadly don't know if you do live broadcasts regularly. If you do, and I have taken to it recently, and right now actually is not an excellent time, because right now it is 8:47 on the West Coast, so I am getting some of my subs hopping on. I'm getting more subs, I think, right now from folks that are here in Southeast Asia. So you, Rike, if he's still on, who's over the Philippines, and then I got another buddy who's he's got a startup here in Bangkok, and so he occasionally will hop on the channel. But anyway, so to that point, I found some software, 2 pieces actually that are relatively, one of them is totally free, and the other one is free if I want to like broadcast for less than 4 hours a month, which is, I'm hitting the rails on that soon, so I'll be a paid subscriber of that, which is Lightstream or golightstream.com, and then the other one is StreamYard. And both of those do 100% of the functionality inside of the browser, which I totally support because it is 100% in the cloud. So I do everything in Chrome. And then you can easily add people, right? So you can like invite another person and then you have like two screens and it's really easy to do. And if the other person has a phone or they have a desktop and they're in a browser, they don't need to install an app. It's pretty sweet. You just go to a URL and blam, there you are as a guest on the show. And on one of them, I can do up to 4 people. You can do up to 4 people. Anyone can do up to 4 people. So anyway, so Gracie flies home and they basically are now keeping track of her. Now it's Sunday today, and so she is staying home. And in honor of that, if you will, I've decided to actually quarantine myself here too. Meaning that before she left, she and I went to the grocery store and we picked up a ton of food. And I have peanut butter and jelly and I have bread. So therefore I have 1 week's worth of food. And there's an unlimited supply of water. The water that comes out of the tap here in my condo in Bangkok is totally fine. It's basically what I make ice cubes with, and I don't have an issue with that. And since Rike is listening, or rather watching via Facebook, I don't know if the Facebook chat, or actually, no, I can't display the chat, so I apologize. And so, so Rike says, in Vietnam, there are now reports of expats being denied pickup for their Grab. That's interesting. A couple stuck at Suchi tunnels for lack of testing and some mild hostility to expats. Any of that in Thailand? I can tell you that I have not heard any of it. And thank you, Rike, for the thumbs up. Peanut butter and jelly and cup of noodles, baby. That's all we need. Hey, Missy, how you doing? Good to hear from you. Missy's up in Oregon, so she can actually give us a little bit of a report of any craziness that's going on in Oregon. Rike, to your question about are any Grab drivers denying pickup? No, and I'll tell you, my last 2 experiences with Grab were the first one picked us up, and I get Grab cars. Only occasionally will I do like I think it's either any Grab or just Grab, which basically means if you're from the U.S., so your experience with Uber and Lyft and that sort of thing is that you get a car. You don't ever get a taxi. Whereas over here in Southeast Asia, Just Grab allows you to basically say, okay, look at the closest nearest car, be it a independent driver who's using like his own Honda Civic, or a taxi cab who also has the Grab app, will come and pick you up. I usually use Grab Car, which basically means that I will have the same experience that you guys are used to having an Uber or a Lyft, which means an independent personal driver will come and pick you up. So with that experience, as well as getting taxis, but with that experience, the first guy that picked us up, he had a mask on. Gracie and I didn't. We got in the cab. He actually had one of those pump things. You know how like there's like the drink holder in the center for those of you in the back. Sometimes the drivers will have like little bottles of water. This guy had a bottle of water. He had Kleenex. And I know, Rike, you know that basically means he had a roll of toilet paper because that's what people use for Kleenex over here. They just buy a roll of toilet paper. It seems odd at first, but it's actually quite efficient. And he had some hand pump sanitizer. So Gracie and I put our masks on, and that was like no big deal. I had another experience where the woman picked us up, and she was taking us to the bus station. And we had our masks on only because we had like our backpacks with us and we had our masks on. So we got in and there was no discussion. The third experience I had recently, which was being picked up here and going to the Don Muang airport because Gracie needed to fly home. Hi, Gracie. Right on. She's watching from the Philippines. And that guy didn't have a mask on. Gracie and I put our masks on, and Gracie, I don't know, you can comment on this, but the guy was, he had like this little dry cough. Now, normally I wouldn't think 0.25 times about something like this, but of course now I'm heightened and I'm like, oh my God, I wonder if that guy's got, I wonder if he's sick. And then I thought, oh, for the love of God, Mike, would you relax? Rike from who's over in the Philippines, he says he prefers Grab car over Grab taxi. Grab taxi often that has it has the dead hooker smell. Yeah, I know exactly. One of the reasons that I always used to hate going to Las Vegas is because I would always leave and I would get basically the second hand, third hand smoke experience. And I always refer to that as the hooker flu coming back from Las Vegas. Even though if you've ever been to Angeles City or you've been to Pattaya in Thailand, you know that the label of Pattaya being Sin City is ridiculous. Or rather, Las Vegas having the label of being Sin City is completely ridiculous, because if you've ever been to Pattaya, if you've ever been to Angeles City, there is nothing like those cities in the world. So Missy from Oregon, she says that they have over 30 confirmed cases. Schools were canceled for 2.5 weeks. She works with the state, and they cannot work from home. The infrastructure can't handle more than 150 people. So that's too bad. And I assume by infrastructure, you mean like VPN connections you can't get. And Gracie she's over there. She's my teammate. She's part of Team Mackie. She says that over here in the Philippines, no more Grab passengers, only Grab deliver parcels. So that's interesting, Rike. Have you experienced that? You can't use Grab for cars. You can only use it to basically have food delivered where you are. I think you're still in Davao, if I'm not mistaken. No, Rike, the guy did not use the pump thing right in front of me. So that would have been kind of cool. No toilet paper, soap, or sanitizer anywhere available up where Missy is in Oregon. Missy, remind me, are you in Portland or are you in like kind of a suburb? And right on, yeah, she's there. Rike and Gracie, absolutely. I'm stoked that you guys are on there. Rike, I tell you, man, I hope this whole thing blows over and we can continue with our plans to come down to Camotes, because Gracie and I were psyched to meet you and V. Washington schools are out for 5 weeks, but, I mean, let's face it, that sort of makes sense, right? I mean, one could argue that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but the highest density of infected people is in Washington State. I'm not totally sure of that data as of right now, which is 10:55 a.m. Bangkok time on Sunday, the 15th. And so Missy's in Portland proper. And so for those of you that are interested, Portland proper, they got school canceled for 2.5 weeks. And if you work in a state office, then you have to go to work. So I'm curious, Missy, then, so if you're going to work, I assume, are you wearing a mask? Because I'll tell you right now, if you go into a state office, if you go into pretty much any office here in Bangkok, probably the same in the Philippines, Rike and Gracie. And I'm not sure, Rike, you probably still keep up on Vietnam, so you probably know if, the state offices or that sort of thing, people are wearing masks. Around here, you have to wear a mask if you're a worker, basically. So Washington, I guess, has still the most affected, so that's too bad. But yeah, 5 weeks of school canceled there. So around here, and the reason I keep looking out, I'm sorry, I am paying attention, trust me. The reason I come over me here, and there's still no rain, and I'm waiting for rain. And if you watch any of my videos, I like energetic rain, so I'm not looking forward to any of this sort of nonsense drizzle that I used to have to experience in Coronado or San Diego. So Rike just checked his Grab app. He's up in the Philippines. It's showing rides available there in Cebu. So not sure about other areas. Oh, yeah, that's right. You guys are in Cebu. I forgot. Yeah, so we were actually going to cruise down, and the plan was meet Rike and V in Cebu and potentially take the ferry over to Camotes and hang out there. Indeed. Yeah, direction Bangkok. The first legit rain in Bangkok this season. We are getting it, already. Okay, so he's basically like 3 or 4 blocks away, so it'll be coming over here pretty soon. Missy says we are told that masks do not protect you from getting it. Only infected wear them as they prevent transmission. And that is 100%, I believe, medically accurate. So one could argue then, if you see someone wearing a mask, you should say, oh, look, an infected person. But no, That's not how it's working out over here in Southeast Asia. Again, to Rike's point a while ago, which is people wearing masks in Southeast Asia is not odd. Yeah, definitely, Rike. We'll definitely make that happen, man. He says we'll make that happen once all these things lighten up. I'm stoked. And the rain is now definitely coming my way. So that means within about the next 15 minutes, there will be 3 inches of rain. And there will likely be a flood because there has not been rain in Bangkok since I got here on November 20th. Sorry, there has not been significant rain. There was this one rain we had for like about 15 or 20 minutes about 2 weeks ago or something, but it hasn't happened since then. So it's good to hear that the data that I certainly believe, and a lot of those in the medical profession believe is true, which is you wear a mask to prevent your exhale or your sneezing or your coughing from getting on a railing or the ground or someone's face. You're wearing these masks to prevent your exiting air to basically affect somebody else. And so I believe that's true. So it sounds like the offices in the Portland area, at least, believe that too. I would submit that the majority of the United States is sort of that belief too. Because, no matter who I talk to, upon first landing anywhere in Southeast Asia, meaning you go to the Philippines for the first time, you go to Vietnam for the first time, you go to Thailand for the first time, you get off and you see these people wearing masks and you're like, oh, that's, your brain says, different. So, I don't think it's any degree of behavior that's occurring. Although, you guys, what I hear, people are stealing hand sanitizer and toilet paper from your office. Yeah, I have heard that. The whole sanitizer thing. I just got some delivered, medium hard rain. Yeah, for Thailand, which is good. Direction Bangkok says. So that's happening. Yeah, basically in our area here, the Bang Na Udam Suk area, if you care, over here in Bangkok. So I've heard of reports on like U.S. news sites that people are stealing them from the office, which I don't know why. I mean, I cannot believe that you can't order hand sanitizer online. I'm pretty certain you can't order toilet paper online from Costco.com because I guess I'm told that the Costco's are out of toilet paper. And I'm also betting that the majority of the toilet paper for the United States is manufactured in, spoiler alert, China. I read a report recently from a news source that I trust. It was either like Wall Street Journal or New York Times or something like this. NewYorkTimes.com. I believe that the majority of the world's face masks are manufactured in China, while the companies that basically distribute them, 3M and that sort of thing, are, U.S. origin companies, U.S. management companies. They outsourced the making of face masks, of surgical masks, to China long ago. I think the numbers that I read were normally this one factory can make 20 million face masks per day in China. They are now ramping up to make over 100 million. So Missy from Oregon, she says that it's all unavailable online. So that's interesting. Again, today's Sunday, and 2 days ago I ordered, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bottles of hand sanitizer. It wasn't the Purell brand, but it was, another one. They all have more than 70% alcohol. Matt, toilet paper is made in the USA. Interesting. So I wonder why they do that item in the USA and why they don't manufacture things like face masks. Interesting. But that's good. And as far as I know, the U.S. has essentially right now, for the foreseeable future, an unlimited supply of the commodity that's used to make toilet paper. Meaning, I'm sure some of it comes from trees. I'm sure some of it comes from tree pulp. I'm sure some of it comes from recycled paper. I'm sure some of it comes from, whatever, depending upon how sanitized it is or whatever. Missy says her other job, the charity that helps kids getting bone marrow transplants, she needed to order sanitizing wipes. On Amazon, went from $15 per 10 pack to $98 per 10 pack. So that's a little frustrating. I understand why the last minute flight that I had to buy for Gracie that I bought on Friday, basically around noontime, that was leaving, 5 or 6 hours later. I understand why that one-way flight was $290. Okay. That's from Bangkok to the Philippines. It was a last minute flight. I get it. If I were to make that flight, that last minute flight, if I were to purchase that normally, so Matt says it's basically shipping costs, and also wood fiber is what they use apparently to manufacture toilet paper in the U.S. So for the most part, that's not too bad. But to the sanitizing wipes, which I don't know about you, but I used to buy those like in 3 packs, and each of the packs had like 100 in them or something, and they were about the size of a box of Kleenex. And I used to get 3 of those at a time at Costco, and it was just down the aisle, and you threw them in your cart, right? So the whole price gouging thing, I don't know whether you're experiencing that here in Thailand, Andrew, and Andrew's from Direction Bangkok. I'm not. Let me hold on one second. I'll show you what Gracie and I bought downstairs at like one of the world's smallest 7-Elevens. When did we buy that, honey? Friday. So hold on one second. I'll show it to you. And I'm going to get a Diet Coke. Can you guys hear that rain? My friends, is what I refer to as energetic rain. So thank all of you for not dropping out. I really appreciate that. So this is my Coke Zero, which, if you can see it, this is how we spell Coke Zero in Thailand. But anyway, the price of regular stuff that normal people would buy. Sorry, what does that mean? What do I mean by that? I consider myself a normal person, so therefore I consider Diet Coke a normal thing that you buy like in your lifetime, in your normal living, and it doesn't matter. Just the end of the thing there. Anyway, so the hand sanitizer. So it is this hand sanitizer. It is the version, let me see, that you will absolutely recognize. It isn't like hand lotion. So it's that. Purell type thing. It is got with alcohol, and this is 50 milliliters. And I can tell you exactly how much we spent. Stand by. Because the only thing that we bought at 7-Eleven that day were 3 containers of that. And I do everything on my phone as far as 7-Eleven goes. I just, boop, it's an app, and it auto deducts. It's called True Wallet. And Friday was 177 baht. So basically each of these was like 50 baht or something, and I think we bought something else. So that is $1.60, basically 50 baht. It's like 31.7 to 1 right now. So for the sake of argument, it's 30 to 1. 30 baht for $1. 30 baht to $1. And Missy says she had to go to 3 different markets last night to get some chicken to cook. So to the point of food unavailable, and especially chicken, because chicken in the U.S. there's chicken everywhere. And here in Thailand, again, Andrew, from Direction Bangkok, if you want to sort of chime in, I don't know, because, I mean, this is a sample size of one, right? So this is Mike's experience in Bangkok. And I like to think it's fairly accurate, of course, right? Mm. You see the way I drank that, like around the mic thing? It's like I'm an expert at Twister. So the availability of food, I haven't experienced any issue. And in fact, many of you probably know that the way you eat around here, if you want the best tasting food, is you buy it on the sidewalk. And so therefore you buy street food a lot. Yeah, there's restaurants everywhere, but it's more expensive. And quite frankly, the food, I want to say the food quality you could arguably say the food quality is better. But the taste isn't necessarily better. And sometimes the quality of the food on the street is a lot better because they have no refrigeration in their little stand there. So they only buy the amount of food that they're going to be able to basically produce and sell that day because they don't want to throw it away. And so therefore, the food is incredibly fresh. Like I can tell you, I bought watermelon the other day as I was walking home. After, to your point, Missy, after I bought some fried chicken that was literally like made right in front of me, and some sticky rice, and I still have it in the fridge. So, and it was 65 baht. And so basically it was like $2.10 for me to buy 3 pieces of chicken. So 2 like arms or whatever you call those, chicken leg wings, and 1 like full breast thing, plus 2 bags of sticky rice. And so again, very inexpensive, no price gouging. And that was right on the street, right outside from my condo here. I then walked basically 4 meters, and there was a guy with a pickup truck. Oh, right on, Enrique. Thanks for inviting. Hey, Glenn, good to see you. There was a guy who had watermelon stacked up to as far as he possibly could without fear of driving down the street and having all of the watermelon fall off. So, I mean, it was higher than me standing on the street. So he had, a ton, literally, of watermelon in the back of his pickup truck. And he and his wife are sitting there, and they have the bed flap down, and they're cutting up the watermelon, and selling it in little packages. And it was 25 baht. So it was basically 75 cents for, I don't know, I want to say like maybe half pound, So, so that was real easy to get. Fruit, vegetables, there's a lot of here so far. I mean, this is Sunday. I mean, again, like I mentioned before, I'm actually self-quarantining if for no other reason than Gracie, it's been recommended that she self-quarantine. And I thought, okay, so like what is 14 days in a row in a condo by myself, eating what I have or what I can get delivered? Like, what is that like? And so I'm on day 2 now. I'm certainly not sick. I mean, I don't feel sick. I take my temperature. It's never been over 99. 99.0 is the highest it's ever been. And that was after Gracie and I had walked about almost a kilometer outside in Bangkok. So one could argue, okay, Mike, 0.4 degrees higher than normal, 98.6. We're willing to accept that as a non-fever. I can check it right now, I suppose. It might be an interesting exercise to see what my body temperature is. But I'm gonna self quarantine, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like to have food here. And Direction Bangkok says he's not going to take this chance to do a BKK first rain video, but nice running into you on here. Right on, man. Very cool. Or he says, I'm sorry, I apologize. He is going to take this chance to do a Bangkok first rain video. So in a few hours, likely, you will see Direction Bangkok uploading a video of him going outside in the rain that we have right now. So I'll definitely link to that in one of my upcoming live streams, and I'll definitely link to it in one of my upcoming videos. Missy also says that her daughter works at a bowling alley as a server. Her shift was canceled today as they had 20 events canceled. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Because let's face it, you're guaranteed that you are going to touch the exact same thing that someone else touches. And to take the ball out of the sort of the track there, the railing, and put your fingers in it, I mean, I'm told that on a railing, right? So you could say that what the ball comes back to you in is a railing. I'm told that the virus can live there for multiple hours. I've heard 2. I've read 2. I've heard 6. I've heard 7. I've read 7. So who really knows, right? And when you're picking the ball up, do you pick it up and do you disinfect the silly thing and then bowl with it? I don't know. I mean, I think it's a fairly reasonable response, quite frankly. The need that I would have to go out would only be, well, I would like to go to a meeting, but I haven't gotten any. I'm going to send a message to one of my buddies that we hang out noon on weekdays over off of Ekamai, which is simply another stop on the BTS here. And I'm used to, getting on public transport, going for a walk, going through a very public area, getting on public transportation, taking that for about 3 or 4 stops, and then getting off and then walking down the sidewalk and then being in a room that is about 3 times the size of my condo here, and hanging out with these guys, talking in a fairly large conference room table for about 1 hour. And so there's 15, 20 minutes plus and minus. So basically, for the sake of argument, within about 2 hours, I'm around a bunch of guys of my vintage that probably take similar care of their health, meaning they bathe regularly, and they understand that like washing your hands is a smart thing to do, especially after using the restroom or touching things. And the last time I was there, they had the pump thing, right? The hand sanitizer. Missy also says they are doing extra cleaning there. We are told to keep 6 feet away from people, but the park down the street was packed with sledders with just 0.5 inches of snow. Yeah. And so, if you guys are familiar with like portions of the areas of the United States where it gets snow, kids out of school at that time, if you're like 10 years old, if you're like 12 years old and school's out and it snows, well then game on. You and all your buddies are like basically grabbing your sleds, or if you have no resources, you're grabbing like a lunch tray and you're sledding down, because it's fun, right? You want to go hang out with your Missy says no self-respecting New Englander would sled on 0.5 inches of snow. And Missy and I are absolutely self-proclaimed, self-respecting New Englanders. Missy and I grew up literally next door to each other. And to give you an idea of how grow up, what I mean by growing up, she moved next door, I want to say when I was, 10 years old. So that would mean Missy would have been 9, I think, because she was 1 grade younger than I was. So I want to say she moved in when I was in maybe 5th grade. I can't remember, but regardless, we've known each other for a long time. I have maybe 5 other people in my life that I've known longer than her. And so Missy says Mr. Buttrick's Hill. So the guy that lived on the other side of me, Missy lived basically, if you're in my driveway, she lived at the house on the left. I was 7 when Missy moved in. Thank you. So she was 6, I guess. And to the right of me was the Buttricks and Mr. Buttrick. The houses on our street, for the most part, each of us had about an acre lot, from anywhere 3/4 to 1 acre. And some of us, most of us, at least down at the end, you had a front yard that was, I don't know, about 10,000 square feet or so between the house and the street, your house and the street. And then you had a backyard, which was arguably, at least 5, if not 10 times larger. 1976, Missy moved in. Absolutely. So, yeah, so I was 8. Well, it depends what time I was born in 68, right? So in 76, I was either 7 or 8. So it was either before March or after March. And then you have a part of your backyard that is sort of flat, and then you have another part that goes downward because there was this brook, this stream, this little, I almost said river. It was not a river. It was a brook. And so your backyard went down a hill to that. Mr. Buttrick, he had a really cool slope to his backyard. And so we used to go sledding back there when there was any degree of snow. In 1978, where I grew up, we had the blizzard of 1978. And because of the way that the houses were situated, our house was at the end of the cul-de-sac. Missy was on the left of me in that cul-de-sac. The Buttricks are on the right of me to that cul-de-sac. And so therefore, all of the snow, as you're plowing, right, that snow gets piled up like, to the right or to the left, depending upon how you're plowing. So, you get like 4 or 5 feet, 6 feet of it. There was that much snow in front of your house. Our house that was all the way down the end, all of the snow from the cul-de-sac got pushed in front of our front yard. And so there was, I want to say, 10, if not 12 or 13 feet of piled snow in front of our house during the blizzard of 1978. And so we as kids, we were all out of school for, I want to say, at least 2 weeks. And so during that time, we would play in the snow, right? And so we would dig tunnels through all of this snow that was all piled up in front of our houses, and it was amazing. And we were self-respecting New Englanders, and so therefore we were taking advantage of the snow. And it's funny, right? Because I was a kid when that happened, when that disaster happened, right? So relative to today being a global disaster versus just like a bunch of snow that they got in New England one winter, which, if you know anything about New England, the fact that you got 12 feet of snow over the whole season, that's not weird. Getting 10 to 12 feet of snow, like in 1 to 2 weeks, that's a lot of snow. But I mean, I think 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, it was the winter lasted all the way through April. If you add up all of the snow that they got over the course of the year, I mean, it was, 120, 130, 140 inches kind of thing. But anyway, to the point of this disaster and being able to get around, thunder. Yeah, Missy says, OMG, the tunnels we made were amazing. They were amazing. Okay, so Missy, now you're a mom. Let me ask you, if you were a mom and Paige and your other kids, because I don't know the names of your other ones, I apologize. So Paige and the other kids, if there was that much snow in front of your house in Portland, and the kids were out of school, and they were the age we were at when that happened. So basically, I was 10. Stacy would have been 12 or 13, so you would have been 9 or 10. You would have been 9, because actually it happened in February of 78. Would you let your kids dig tunnels and go hang out in basically a tunnel where you were covered with easily a ton, literally thousands and thousands of pounds of snow? And if you know anything about being in the snow, if you yell in the snow, the sound doesn't go anywhere. So you can't yell for help if the tunnel caves in. And the interesting thing about these tunnels is they were at the end of the street, and it was still snowing. So it would snow again, and then we would climb in, and we would remove any of the additional snow that accumulated. But we would also have the disappointment of the plows coming down the street and putting more snow up there and crushing these tunnels. So would you let your kids today play in the same tunnels that our parents let us play in? And at the time, of course, we thought, oh yeah, we could be. I mean, we're safe. There's no good. Missy responds, oh hell no. Andrew, her 20-year-old, almost set the house on fire last night. What, did you have a power outage and you use candles? I mean, come on, dude. You don't set the house on fire. I mean, Missy's the kind of person that, unfortunately, she's with Facebook. So she's joining us with Facebook. So I don't believe I can bring another person here on Facebook. But some other time I have a live stream, Missy, you'll have to come on. And you and I will have to go back and forth and start sharing about some of our childhood and some of the crazy things we did, and how now you as a parent, because I'm not a parent, how you as a parent are like, there's no freaking way I would let my kid do some of the stuff I did. So that's, that's kind of interesting. So yeah, so that's happening in Portland. And, as Matt also mentioned, yeah, one of the things I wanted to get back to in some of the comments. So I'm scrolling back up to the comments. So Matt says, no potatoes, no chicken, ramen. And so I'm not sure whether he means that relative to where he is in Bangkok, or whether he just has knowledge of Bangkok. I believe you're in Washington, right? Or are you here in Bangkok, Matt? I'm sorry, I can't remember. So we got a little bit of rain, some thunder. I didn't see any lightning, but now the rain is letting up. So hopefully Andrew from Direction Bangkok will come back and give us an update on what the rain has been like, the first rain in Bangkok. So if you know anything about Bangkok, or I should say, if you know anything about the paradigm of living in Bangkok, there is the BTS, which is the train, and many people take that. There is the bus system, which actually over the last 6 years since I've been coming here has gotten infinitely better, meaning the density of buses that have air conditioning that are actually quite new is much higher. And then there's always been taxis, and there's always been motorbike taxis, meaning you just basically get on the back of a 125cc motorbike, and for anywhere from like $1 to $3, the driver takes you somewhere. He may or may not have a helmet for you. He may or may not be wearing a helmet himself. And they sneak in and out of traffic, and it's actually a pretty efficient way to get places, especially in downtown Bangkok, where there's a ton of traffic. And you're not taking the BTS. The other paradigm for being mobile here is to use Grab. And initially it was Uber that was here, but Grab bought out Uber. Grab bought out Uber in many markets in Southeast Asia. So there's Grab here. And I also used Uber in Vietnam. And it's great, especially for those of you that don't speak English. Because they have auto translate with the communication portion, with the chat portion of with the app, and you also use those to have things delivered. So much like you have Uber Eats, and that was the only sort of experience that I have as of 4 months ago in Coronado. You can use Uber to basically have food delivered from restaurants. I don't believe you can use Uber to have groceries delivered. But I know that where I was living in Coronado, Vaughn's is the name of a grocery store, and you can go to vaughns.com. And Smart and Final, Smart and Final Extra is always a sort of a, Smart and Final is kind of like a warehouse store, but they didn't initially have groceries, and then they got into groceries, and then they called themselves Smart and Final Extras. And you can go to Smart and Final and have groceries delivered there. So I could go to Vaughns.com. I could get groceries delivered if I was still living back in Coronado, and I can get food delivered from restaurants if I was still living back there. And by Coronado, I also sort of mean San Diego, right? So it's interesting. So my YouTube thing says that YouTube is sending data, and I don't know whether that means that it's trying to whether it's basically updating. Or whether it's having an issue with restreaming, or if it's creating a new live stream. So not really sure what's going on there. It doesn't show me as, it shows me as being live now on YouTube. So I apologize. I'm not quite sure. I had some impression that it potentially stopped, but it didn't. And I'm still cruising away there on Facebook, which is good. So again, I'm pretty confident that I can get food. Now, I don't know if I can get, like fairly fresh chicken. I believe that I bought fairly fresh chicken that I bought on the street yesterday when I was walking around. So the fact that you can't get anything, I would submit that when you can't get a product on Amazon.com, then that to me means that it is unavailable in the United States in the majority of distribution centers. You can likely go down to various other stores and potentially buy these items. But to Missy's point, the fact that she used to buy disinfecting wipes or sanitizing wipes, which I assume had some alcohol in it. The fact that she used to buy those on Amazon for $15 for a 10-pack, and now they are $98 for a 10-pack in Amazon. I'm actually a little surprised that Amazon is allowing that seller to do that. I would be curious, Missy, if you don't mind, trying to go back to that site. I'm curious whether in the listing it says fulfillment by Amazon, because I am pretty confident that Amazon, if they are fulfilling it, they're quite aware of what's going on with the sale. And it has been my experience that they try to be quite fair. And so if there is someone selling for one thing, if someone is trying to sell like a camera on Amazon.com through your reseller's account, and you are doing so and you're charging a huge amount for it, and it's the only one kind of thing, if it's not like a vintage product, or if it's not something that is yet, some huge emotional demand or something like that, like a signed picture from John F. Kennedy or something, if the price is too high, they seem to really kind of, police that. So she just said that is not sold by Amazon. It's the third seller. It's a third-party seller as Amazon was out. Okay. Missy also said, again, from Portland, she said that she stocked up on beef and pork at the butcher shop 2 weeks ago. Her freezer is full, including salmon her father-in-law caught in Alaska. Oh, very cool. For those of you that are over here and live very similar to the way I live, very similar to the way sort of Rike lives in Vietnam, meaning we expats. And since the title of this is like, what's it like living as an expat over here? We expats will traditionally come over here and take advantage of the fact that a one-bedroom condo is a third or less the cost of living where we used to live. So, for example, I just uploaded a video on my channel yesterday because one of my subs, I did a quick discussion around me moving into this condo. It is 12,000 baht, and at the exchange rate right now, it's approximately $400. But 12,000 baht right today is $378. And so I have a one-bedroom condo that is approximately 40 square meters, which is about 400 and something square feet. And that is, less than $400. So we will live in something this size, which means that our refrigerator, a big refrigerator over here in Southeast Asia, in a one-bedroom condo, is what you would refer to in the U.S., what I would refer to in the U.S. as a small fridge. Meaning, if you walked into someone's house, or you even walked into someone's apartment or condo, and my one-bedroom house in Coronado was 475 square feet, and that includes the bathroom. So one could argue it's not really the living space, right? So if you were like selling the place, then you would include that. But the living space, I kind of included the closets or whatever. But the point is that I've lived in a small place, a small one bedroom, and the rain's picking up again. Sweet. And in there, I absolutely had a regular size fridge, and so that means it's over 6 feet tall. The freezer portion is like 3 feet by 2 feet, and then the remaining is refrigerator. So it is not uncommon for people to front load their eating habits by weeks to months, buying pounds and pounds and pounds of food that freezes really well. So, to Missy's point, beef, pork, fish, that sort of thing. Sometimes you buy a lot of frozen vegetables. And so, the other behavior that occurred very commonly for me in the United States was I go to Costco. If I get out of Costco spending less than $300, I consider that a triumph. And, because I'd be like, oh my God, it's 20 pounds of salmon. How can I pass up this deal? I'll just cram it into my fridge, and eventually I'll eat it. And we would. When Gracie and I lived there, we would go to Costco and we would buy weeks of pork, because pork is cheap to begin with. And she's Filipina, so therefore she eats pork quite a bit. Whereas I would submit we eat less pork in our diet than a normal Filipina does. Living in the Philippines, I would submit we eat less than that in the United States. But we also, eat quite a bit of beef, and we eat quite a bit of chicken. Chicken is also inexpensive in the United States. It's inexpensive globally, as far related to the global price of chicken. For example, the barbecued chickens that you could buy in Costco, considering the size of them and the quality of the taste, they're excellent, right? I believe those were $5. I believe they're $4.99. Gracie and I used to buy one of those and have chicken for a week. She would also used to use the portions of the chicken that we don't normally use as part of our cooking behavior in the U.S., meaning once you get down to the bones or whatever, you just throw them away. She would use that to flavor a soup of chicken. And so she would really make use of it. And so that chicken lasted us for $5. Or 160 baht, or about 270 pesos, okay? And we have yet to find a full barbecued chicken for that price here in Thailand or the Philippines. I cannot speak to Vietnam. We haven't been there and lived there long enough to have bothered buying an entire barbecued chicken. We would basically eat street food and eat on a daily basis. So my fridge here is... but I can easily see over it to the fact that I actually have my microwave on top of it, and even Gracie can still reach that. And she's like basically 5'2". I'm 6'2". She's 5'4". She can still reach that, no problem. But my fridge is not even 5 feet tall, and it is maybe 2 feet wide, and that's considered a fairly big fridge for the way that you live over here. So in my freezer, I have 2 ice cube trays and a Tupperware of some cookies, basically, that I bought at our version of Costco over here, kind of. Nothing's Costco, but it's kind of Costco. It's called Macro, M-A-K-R-O. And I bought a big bag of this for like $3, and so I froze some of that. So that's what I have in my freezer right now, but I don't have... And I could probably fit, those things you buy of fresh chicken in the U.S.? They're probably about this high, and they're about this wide, and they're usually on like a yellow piece of styrofoam, and they're saran wrap. And they're approximately $6 for like breasts. I could probably fit like 2 or 3 of those in my freezer, and that's it. Maybe another bag of frozen peas or something, frozen vegetables. So that's about as much freezer as you have over here. And when I was getting off of the BTS yesterday, for Friday rather, when I came home from the airport, the Thais that were in front of me have the daily food, because you buy enough food for the day. And so you have plastic bags that you carry around that are full of plastic bags. And in those plastic bags are things like chicken, and soup. And so basically when you buy soup from the side of the street, there's a giant cauldron of soup that's basically been boiling or being cooked all day. They scoop something out. They put that into a plastic bag. They then tie the top of it with a rubber band. They put that as a bag of soup in another plastic bag. Sometimes they'll throw noodles in there sometimes. And then what there usually will be is bowls of fresh vegetables green beans and lettuce and onions, that sort of thing. Sometimes they'll be cut up, sometimes not, and there'll be tongs, and you pick up that amount of fresh vegetables and you put that in your own bag, and then you pay them like $2, and that's enough soup with, sometimes there'll be chicken in it, sometimes there'll be pork, sometimes there'll be fish, sometimes there won't be anything, sometimes it'll just be soup and it'll have like fish balls in it. And you will eat that. That will be basically your dinner, and sometimes it will last through to the morning, and you'll eat it for breakfast. So Gracie would sometimes get fish, and then we would eat that for breakfast. So Missy says that she spends less than $150 at Costco each month. Good job. That's awesome. Do I remember my studio apartment in San Diego? Of course I remember my studio apartment in San Diego, Missy. That was my first living on my own. That was a studio apartment. It was $475 in 1989. And so that was incredibly inexpensive. And so in 2020, I pay basically 80% of that cost. And my current condo is probably 2.5 times larger than that studio apartment. So to give you an idea of the cost of living in Bangkok, I'll say one thing, and then I'll probably do another video on it, because every Thailand vlogger has to do a video on my monthly cost of living, right? Because that actually is a fairly frequent question too. Mike, what's it cost you to live over there? What did it cost you to retire over there? What is the amount of money I need in my pocket to be able to live a comfortable life over here? And that's right. I remember. Yeah, Gracie took the train down from Laguna, where her I want to say grandmother, right, your dad's mom, had this amazing condo right on the water in Laguna Beach. And then I actually drove up there and met her up there too, and we had a ton of fun. Talk about really, really good friends having a good time in their 20s. Oh man. We danced all night long in our bare feet in, I believe, a bar in Laguna Beach called The Place Across from the Laguna Beach Hotel. I believe that was the name of the bar. So Missy and I are having euphoric flashbacks of when we were adults, kind of. And I was just getting sober too. So I would have been about 24. I believe the first time she and I hung out, I was not sober. But the second time we hung out after after May of 1992, I was then sober. So anyway, so that was her grandmother's place. It was right there on the beach. And they sold that house last year to the guy who owns Vans, as in the shoe company Vans, Off the Wall. Those are very popular shoes here in Southeast Asia. That is a premium brand. If you own a pair of Vans in Bangkok, and you likely bought them at a mall, and they're authentic because there's a lot of fake stuff over here. If you own a pair of those, then you own a pair of expensive shoes, basically. So, but anyway, so it'll be interesting to see on this like quarantine experience that I'm having as an expat over here. Self-inflicted quarantine. I mean, there's no reason for me to quarantine. There's no medical reason for me to quarantine. In the last 2 weeks, I have been in Thailand 100% of the time. I got here, so basically December, January, February, and then a little bit of March. So for the most part, I've been here about 110 days. Sometime March 20th, that'll be my 4 months here. And I love it, by the way. I really, really like living in Thailand. I also really, really like doing these videos. And to that point, it is now 9:42 on the West Coast. It is 20 minutes before 1 a.m. on the East Coast. It is 11:42 a.m. here, so just before noon. So I'm going to actually cut this live broadcast off. I want to thank all of you guys a ton for joining in. Missy, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. And to Matt, Enrique, and Gracie, honey, I hope you're doing great in the Philippines and it's not too annoying and you're not being disrupted. Again, Matt, Direction Bangkok. Andrew, thank you, buddy. I really appreciate you chiming in. And to all the other folks that actually came on here and chatted, or the folks that came on here and didn't chat, thank you for swinging by. It's Mike's from livemyassoff.com saying, I hope you're living the dream. Because even like with all of this nonsense, trust me, it's the pair of glasses you're wearing. It's the outlook that you have. I personally have a really good outlook, and it's not perfect here either. Trust me. I honestly hope you're able to like sit back and say, okay, yes, this sucks. This is not what I was signed up for. Potentially you're using that. But you can still live the dream. If you're not living the dream, I submit you're doing it wrong. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Have an amazing day. Ciao.